Hola, hola, hola. Hace tiempito que no me asomaba por aquí, pero Diosito pone cositas en mi corazón. Y hoy hablando con mi prima, escuché la palabra merecimiento. Y como yo sigo mi guía interna, obvio le pregunto a Papito Dios, ¿qué debemos de compartir del merecimiento? So I came up with a question for Copilot, and I asked Copilot to give me a comparison between deserving and feeling guilty for receiving. The reason why I did this is because entitlement and deserving are way two different things, and a person that lives in ego feels entitled. Now, a person that speaks from the heart, a person that learns and is aware of their own conditions, behaviors, reactions, and mostly those nervous system, I will say, tendencies, right? They need to step into the compassion of the understanding of their condition without feeling pity. Because if we fall into pity, it becomes a cycle of guilt, shame, and entitlement. Guilt, shame, and entitlement. The difference between one and the other, that one is based on ego and lack of awareness. The other one, the one that is aware, lives from a space of an open heart, from a space of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and from a space of changing the patterns of our cultural behaviors, religious beliefs, and dogmatic, institutionalized things that we have been learning. So, deserving, says Copilot, is about worth. Guilt is about permission. Please memorize this. Deserving is about worth. Guilt is about permission. One is based on emotional resonance, or when you throw a pebble in the water, those ripple effects, the emotion ripple effects of the way you lived your life, it's gonna make you feel guilty for receiving. And we all go through that because in one way or another, at times, either our environment, the way we were raised, or the things that we took upon in life, different experiences that we went through, made us feel guilty for receiving. Because maybe we were institutionalized into thinking that there are things that you're not supposed to receive just for being authentic. Because the way that we have been instructed is to live with a mask of accomplishments that give you self-worth, when self-worth is not based on accolades, it's not based on what you have in the material aspects of life, is based on what you feel worthy of. My story has been all over my channel. I took down the Battle of Love, the Awakening, and the reason why I took it down is because I need to redo it. When I was doing the Battle of Love, the Awakening, I was instructed to start publishing videos as it went through. There was a big lesson on it, and it was all the stages of an awakening from the institutionalized version of our lives to living a life more authentically. And the reason why I took it down is because not because I feel ashamed of what happened at all. It had to happen that way for me to get the wisdom that I got from it and to be able to become aware of my condition, but because there is a better way to say it by communicating it from a space of love and not a space of frustration. And at that time, I was going through a lot of overwhelm because of all the things that were going on in my awakening that were kind of eye opening. So, Pilot said that deserving is an inner worth effort of or fairness. It's like something that could sound for this, I've earned the rest, support, or reward. It's fairer for me to have this. I'm allowed to receive good things. The serving is grounded in self respect, healthy boundaries, recognition of effort or value, a stable sense of identity. It's calm, steady, and rooted in reality. Guilty for receiving is a fear based condition or conditioning of the mind from old emotional patterns, not from facts. It sounds like I don't want to be a burden. Other people need this more than I do. I'm not used to being supported. If I accept this, I owe something back. Guilt is rooted in past experiences of scarcity or neglect, feeling unworthy, fear of just judgment, fear of being indebted to another person, people pleasing, or over responsibility. It's emotional, not logical. So how they clash. You can be in a situation when you deserve rest, help, love, money, recognition, or kindness, but you can feel guilty because receiving feels unfamiliar, risky, or too much. This creates an internal conflict. I know I should have this, but I feel wrong by taking it or for taking it. The conflict is extremely common in people who grew up being the caretaker, which it is part of my story. Since I was very young, I was responsible of things that grown-ups should have been responsible of. So I learned to live in a masculine side or version of where I had to be so independent, but also having the condition that I had without being detected didn't allow me to start things and not make plans. I will make plans, but never commit to complete them. So it was like kind of I was doing something, and then from a moment I will feel bored about it and stop doing it just because I learned it. And that's all I cared about, not showing off that I could do it, but I learned it, I mastered it, I'm out. Now, part of understanding my condition allows me to understand that there are days that I'm going to feel like that, but can retrain my mind so the nerves don't react emotionally to what's happening by having compassion. There was a time that I fell in self pity mode because I didn't understand why things were happening to me or why people will see me in a different set of eyes when I know who I was, but they were judging me for being something different than what I knew it was. So it's kind of funny because both of them clashed. Because at a moment that I wanted something deeply rooted in my life, something that I wanted to accomplish, something that I wanted to do, it felt easy for me to share it, but not to receive either compliments or things on it. And it was probably because I wasn't aware of my condition being in the middle of not allowing me to feel worthy enough to receive it, which is actually pretty cool because when you get to understand that, then you change your perspective in life. And now you understand where you were pleasing people and where you were closed off to receive compliments. So it's kind of nice because it gets you out of the defensive mode and it allows you to feel feminine, which is the loving part of a human being, the feminine portion of it. But it also allows you to use your masculine side of the energy to actually go for what you want. So there's a lot of things that I've learned that I love. And yeah, I don't speak like this cool, calm, and collected all the time because my condition at times make me a little bit blowing up, like kind of like I call myself a firecracker at times. Before I didn't know how to say, I feel overwhelmed. I need to stop this conversation. Or I will feel if I stop the conversation now, the other person may feel bad. It was not about me having to be there. It was about how the other person always will feel because that's why I lived in my masculine side because that's how I had to survive. So being aware of these things can change your mindset into actually having a bigger opportunity to enjoy the experience of just being happy without the need of anyone's acceptance but your own. So it's actually very nice. So I hope anyone out there that's going through this can see the difference between one and the other. So it says, this creates internal conflict. I know I should have this, but I feel wrong for taking it. The conflict is extremely common in people who grew up being the caretaker, were taught to minimize their needs, survived trauma, my case, were rewarded to self-sacrifice, yeah, rarely received support in the past, which is why receiving can feel like breaking a rule. That does identify a lot with my upbringing. I'm not saying my parents were not givers, but they had a set of standards and rules where things had to be a specific way. If they were not that way, they were judged as mishaps or misbehaviors, when in essence it was never a misbehavior, it was just a mask worn to silence truth. So it's fun. The non obvious insight: guilt is often a sign that you're expanding your capacity to receive, not that you're doing something wrong. It's the emotional stretch that happens when you move from survival patterns into healthier ones. Deserving is the truth. Guilt is the old programming catching up. A question to help you go deeper: when you feel guilty for receiving something, what part of you believes you must earn everything you get? That is, that hits a chord in my musical symphony in my head because Have you ever been gifted something by someone out of just pure unconditional love and you felt like it was too much or too big for you to actually feel deserving of it? That's why people don't understand that there are people that unconditionally can love you for who you are. And that's why people often confuse unconditional love with lack of self love, because at a way of expressing it is different. You're not accustomed to it. And when somebody tells you they understand you, you're like in your head, how can you understand me if I don't understand myself? And we all have been in both sides of the equation when things happen in experiences like job experiences, experiences, university, life relationships, interpersonal relationships, etc. So it's very good that you actually dig deeper on this so you can actually start learning what are the things that your behavioral patterns are reacting to emotionally that happened in the past that you need to let go of so you can actually open up and become more vulnerable to be able to express yourself with respect. And then let's say I asked Copilot to summarize it in a paragraph with an amazing title. And he came with the weight of worth versus the weight of guilt. And this is the summarized version. Deserving is the quiet truth that you are worthy of good things. Guilt is the old echo that tells you you're taking too much. One affirms your value, the other one questions your permission. When they collide, you can fully deserve support, love, or abundance while still feeling guilty for receiving it. Not because it's wrong, but because you're growing beyond the limits you were taught. That is the best musical song or tone or tune that I can get from this AI, which for certain things is amazing. For others, I still have some things going on out there. It's like everything. There's good things and bad things, and there's people that use good things for doing good, and others that use it for the wrong purpose. But these tools, if used properly, can become also a way for you to understand things. Now, you have to believe and understand that these systems will always go the compassionate way. If you want a more rough version of it, there's ways for you to take out the filters. This is just a way that I can express this through what I'm asking Copilot. So it's more welcoming to everybody out there. I know about projections, I know a lot about survival mode. And I know that at times we don't want to hear these things, but acknowledging them can change your life forever. So I want to ask Abba what he wants focus on that can help us. So let's see, what is he guiding us to? Okay. Wow. Oh, like you guys, you don't understand. there's always a question that lingers in my mind, not because I'm attached to that energy. I wish that energy can relate to what just happened right now and listen to this video in full. Once someone asked me how they can see God in others. And for some reason, that question came in because I said, you can see God in others when you see yourself as deserving of His love. What we call God may be a different version of what true universal consciousness is. As the true universal consciousness is what Jesus came to speak about, or the story of Jesus, or the Bible, or the Nag Hammadi texts speak about. And there's a lot of things that were hidden and now they're coming back to light. We're in the Sophia era, and from this year to next year, a lot of things are going to change. I am gifted with gifts that I never asked for, but I can reach them because I have the capacity that when I feel grounded, I can balance myself and ground myself enough to allow my inner wisdom to speak up. What we call the Holy Spirit is that connection that you have with the divine guidance that is in your DNA. And I want you guys to really go to Luke 19. Read the whole entire chapter, focused and emphasizing verse 27. I am not a believer of only speaking about verses. I'm a believer about reading the whole entire chapter or book so you understand all that happened and take the context of the story and apply it to your personal life. I don't read the Bible like everybody else. A lot of people read the Bible as a book that needs to be memorized and unfortunately end up using the Bible as a weapon. I was there until I realized that's not what Jesus instructed people to do. That's what indoctrinated people into doing, which falls under false judgment. And it's a law of karma that's going to hit you in the face. Look what it says. Luke 19:27, KJV version 16:11. What does it mean? Responsibility and steward, stating, but those mine enemies which will not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. It signifies that those who reject Jesus' authority and refuses his kingdom will face judgment and destruction at his return. A lot of people live waiting for Jesus' comeback. And I am not the owner of anyone's truth. But Jesus left saying, I live with you the Holy Spirit. The moment you receive the Holy Spirit, he came back already. Why? Because you're not seeing things through the eyes of the flesh or the material. You're seeing things through the eyes of the Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is your divine connection to God. And it is not something that falls from the sky. It's something that is birthed in your heart. The Bible speaks of the lily And the Tao speaks of the lotus. Your heart, it's the vessel of God, or what you call God. And if your heart is troubled, it's because your mind is creating a dissonance, which doesn't allow to feel or allow you to feel deserving of the things that you didn't work for. But unconditional kind of love that you just need to understand you deserve. Not because you act a certain way, but because it's your inheritance. So when somebody loves you unconditionally, they're not loving you because they need you. They're loving you because they see you for who you are and not for the masks that you wore, not for your projections. And if you go into my community post, you're going to see there's a comparison about it a few posts behind that will bring you a little bit more of insight. Somebody doesn't want me to tell you this. So what I want you to go and read the whole chapter, because one of the most important parts of the Bible is in this chapter, and it's the parable of the talents. Or the parable of the pounds, however you want to call it. When you realize that you have no enemies, you will understand that the reason why the matrix or false matrix that you live in crumbled. And it crumbles because you always lived with a set of beliefs that you're learning to understand is not the core essence about unconditional love. And when that happens, you open your heart. You understand that you have voice, mouth, signs to express what you feel without the need to feel overwhelmed by it. With the understanding that you don't need to shut yourself and not express yourself because somebody else told you to. That you don't need to argue when somebody has a different belief. You just need to know that you are not as alien as you think you are. There are people that live their lives ignoring their wounds, avoiding healing their wounds because it's harder to confront the lies they've been telling to themselves than to live an honest life with yourself. And many may thought that I lived that type of life. And it was so funny because when I realized, oh, I thought I was doing this life this way because it was supposed to be like that. But then they tell me, no, you have a condition that makes you think this way, but it's this way. I'm like, so who says what? How is this? How do you eat it? But then when you understand there's not that many bad things within you that you had to change, but a lot of good things about you that you can explore and allow them to grow in you. And you don't need to feel guilty for being that type of person in front of anyone. Then at that point, you understand what you are made of and who you truly are in the eyes of the divine. Free will is something so beautiful that I never knew that I was going against the free will of other people when I told them the things that I could see beyond the veil. But when somebody will tell me things that in my beliefs were not politically correct, I will ignore them for a while, but then think about it and I'm like, why did they told me this? And then when I started asking the whys is when I discovered, okay, is this like a general law? This is like a general belief, or is this something that I'm not coping with? And then I said, okay, let me look for help. And when I actually looked for help and they told me, oh, well, is this, and that, I'm like, oh, cool. So I went ahead and started asking more whys. I'm very curious. And when I started asking whys, I found so many magical things that not only changed my perception of others, but also gave me the ability to feel deserving of the things that I once thought I have to fight for to get. Never forget this. Money is related to mom's wounds and security to daddy's wounds. But unconditional love is the only way that you can actually step into the glory of divinity or divine guidance to not only forgive yourself, but feel worth of receiving without feeling entitled to have what you want. So Abba guides us to Luke 19, KJV 16:11. And I once asked, why are you guiding us to KJV 16:11? And it's because KJV 16:11 has more content than the newest versions because some of the things of the newest versions are omitted. And it's one of the ones that, even though it's not complete, it has more context. And even though it has a different kind of language in it, is more true to the era. And if you understand the era, then you can understand their beliefs versus Jesus' true teachings. And it's beautiful and magical to see all that because then you can see for yourself. And it's 11:11 right now on this watch. It's just fun. Let me see if I can show you this. That is so funny. There you go. Yeah. Mirror numbers. I love them. So when he speaks, we listen. And there is too many distorted information out there that keeps us going around in circles in spirituality, in late daily life. You know what is the most beautiful thing? Understanding. And when you choose to love somebody, you don't, it's like when you choose to love somebody, you see them for who they are and you accept them for who they are. The only way that you can do that is by accepting who you are. The moment that you accept who you are in truth and divine guidance, and not in a false sense of entitlement, life changes. I once asked Abba, what are miracles? And he said, you are the miracle. You know why? Because only you can make a choice to stop believing the false lies you were told and start trusting yourself. We went to an event last week, and our leader fell off the stage. Going down the stairs, she fell off and she hit herself pretty hard. That woman stood up, and her words after that were very simple, and they went viral actually. She said to everyone, I'm going to take the example of that fall. I could have stayed on the floor. I could have panicked about falling and feeling bad for myself or how I looked. But I chose to stand up because it's not how you fall, it's how you stand up. What everybody saw as a meltdown or a projection of my childish ways was actually the way Abba had to tell me there's something you need to be aware of so you can start living your life in purpose, and you can start understanding the difference between what we just talked, the weight of worth versus the weight of guilt. My name is Vivian. I go under vivianv_GA. And the Battle of Love the Awakening is back and stronger than ever. So stay tuned, because everything ends when he says it's gonna end. Night night.